Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Marriage is Tougher Than Woodpecker Lips podcast. This is Bryan, joined by my co host, Paul. We'd like to welcome you to a community meant for the men of the world to share their thoughts and perspectives on marriage. We can learn from each other's experiences and help each other be better husbands. This week on the pod, we've got a returning guest, my friend, Paul Montalvo, and he's got a story to share with us that is quite different from what he shared with us his last trip around on the podcast. So we're excited to get into that.
Before we hop all the way in, we'd just like to welcome you to the pod. If you've been here and rocking with us for a while, welcome back. If this is your first time, welcome. If you'd like to go deeper or you have any questions or comments as we go through this, please hit us up wherever you social searching Marriage is Tougher. You can also go to marriageisttougher.com, hit the contact form to leave any feedback. You can also hit that contact form if you'd like to be a guest. Just leave your name, your information, what you'd like to talk about. We'll reach back out to you to get you on the pod. Again, welcome. Now let's get into the show.
Right. So, my man Paul.
Hey. My man Hooks.
I am so excited to hear what has transpired. I am excited because I got a little prelude into, the beginning and the exit. But I know that there has been some significant lessons learned here, and I'm also excited to hear how you plan on progressing in the future. So, if Mr. Sargent doesn't have any questions, we'll let you just kind of hop into it and share what you'd like to share.
What's been going on?
Mr. Sargent, good morning to you. I hope everybody's been doing well. It has been a minute. I've run into Bryan a couple of times, hung out with him a couple of times, him and his lovely wife, and it was a great experience. But in between those gaps, there were gaps of time. In that time, me, and if anybody does recognize me from the last episode, they knew my position as far as marriage and relationships wasn't a great one because I've seen and experienced a lot of bad, and that made me worry about any type of other relationship or the concept of marriage or anything like that. I did also say on that last time that I wouldn't cut my nose off to spite my face, so I always kept that door ever so slightly open for the possibility of jumping into something. But during our time apart, I actually did meet somebody and have an experience that was 90% awesome. And it was great. And I can use the L word and say I was in love for a short amount of time. And even now, I'll still never talk bad about this person because I still do love her, because I was given something that I didn't know I could accept. And it was one of the greatest moments of my life that I can say was great, and I can't deny that. And it's beautiful memories and other things like that. So it was great. I don't take it back. I don't regret it. But there are some damage that comes with that, and there is that other 10% that I didn't talk about.
I feel you, man. My first question is, so you said you still have love for her.
Oh, absolutely.
And I appreciate that because in the past, I have been told that love doesn't just evaporate, right? Once you develop love for someone, that is ongoing. I have struggled with the idea of that because I've got, X amount of past relationships. I would say a few where I've felt love, right? And then I think about it on the other side where my wife has also had past relationship and she's experienced love in those, right? So there's this idea in my head that, man, my wife has loved people before before me, am I winning? Right?
I would say yes, absolutely,
Yeah,
because
yeah. I mean,
love. I actually recently heard a quote that kind of sums it up: is that my love never goes away. You just happen to find somebody that loves you more and accepts it. Because if you're not with that person anymore, somewhere along that line, the love, it maybe fades a little bit, but the love is always going to be there. If not, then you weren't really in love. If you're able to take memories and compassion and all these other things that made love, it doesn't go away. It can't, because it's love. So there'll always be a part that's there. But if you're not with that person anymore, there's reasons for it. And you'll eventually meet somebody that will reciprocate that love and make that love a little bit more than the one that you've had. But the one that you had is there.
man, refreshing to hear you talk like that.
Lessons learned, man.
I hear you.
It it was a beautiful thing. It was kind of it wasn't a toxic whirlwind, but how everything happened. I knew the person for about a year and change before anything progressed. Now here's some of the negatives and why I believe it didn't work. There was an age gap, and that in itself produces some problems. I'm 46. The person in question was 26. They were still learning and living life, and I was an outlet to help teach. For lack of a better word, just help along the way of my life lessons. Eventually, for circumstances, we ended up moving in together, and things progressed from there. While it progressed, it became serious. It didn't jump from Monday to Tuesday. We're in love. Like there was moments that had to happen, lessons that had to be learned. It had to progress. It was organic, so it was a beautiful thing how it did progress. When it did finally progress and hit the peak of it, it was love from both sides. And I got to meet her family. That was very accepting. She got to meet my family. Like, we made sure we were taking things as they came. But at the end of the day, like, it was love from both sides. I do think the age gap had an effect on it, amongst other things. And I guess we can get into that if you want to know how it fell off a cliff, because I feel like that's also an important part of the story.
Yeah, I mean, I think that will certainly provide lessons to people. It could provide indicators of, you know, leading indicators of the end of a relationship, right? Maybe you'll talk about some red flags that you started to see or something like that. And then maybe we'll have some rebuttals on how we might be able to fight through those things as well, is kind of what I'm seeing without knowing the whole story yet.
Mr. Sergeant, how you doing over there? Just soaking all this in?
Listen, I am. I'm taking all this in and just want to hear a little bit more before I ask some questions. I mean, I have a ton of questions, but I just want to let the story kind of play out before I kind of
Okay.
get into it.
So I took on a responsibility. I feel like men have a responsibility to lead, to a point. I feel like men have a almost duty to help elevate the relationship. If a person, my circumstance was a little bit different because they were younger and didn't have the life experience that I had, and I felt like it was my position to help guide through wisdom of life and experiences that I've had to help better them. I feel like I did. and it was very receptive. And the part that she was receiving, she became better for it. Um, a lot of lessons to be learned. It was beautiful communication. I could definitely say that. Every relationship has disagreements. Like that's just there is like that's not even that storytelling doesn't even give you stuff without disagreements or whatever. So there were disagreements, but at no point was there any fighting or arguing. It was more, well, let's talk about it. We don't have to raise our voices. We don't have to, let's just talk. Let's just figure it out. Here's my side. You give me your side. Let's see where our differences are at. Here's why I think my debate holds up more than yours. Here's why yours feels like yours holds more water. And it was great because right afterwards you'd be like, all right, what's going on TV? Like we both made our points and there was nobody hung on to it. There were some points of I need to get the last word in or she needs to get the last word in, but even after last words, it was like, okay, let's move on. Like we've talked, we've understood where we're at. Let's move on, and we've learned from here. That was one of the greatest things I could say I had about the relationship was communication wise was a beautiful thing up until it wasn't, and there's a reason for that, and we'll get into that.
Now, was this a new experience for you as far as having that type of communication um, against what your the normal pattern with your relationships was?
Absolutely. I was expecting it. When you're used to certain things, you're just kind of like, well, here we go. And to her credit, she was super receptive to just hearing my point, giving me hers. And I was shocked, like that's not what I was used to or expected. So when it happened, I didn't just stand there like in shock. I was just in my head while the conversation was going on. I was like, wow, this is how conversation is supposed to be between two adults. And it was a breath of fresh air, knowing that I'll be able to speak my point, she'll be able to speak hers, and afterwards we can just move on as people without any backlash or anything negative like that. So now it was definitely away from the norm that I'm used to, but such a breath of fresh air that there are couples that can communicate, and it gives hope to those couples. Like that's how it should be. If you love somebody, why are we raising our voices? Why are we belittling people? Why are we manipulating people? Like I never understood that, but that's all I've ever saw and experienced. So to be able to see that's like, okay, it can happen. And it was beautiful when it did.
Love that. That was, I mean, you couldn't have said that more eloquently or shared that more because, we're big on communication here. And both of us have been working, Bryan and I, just to make sure that we communicate the best in our relationship. So to be able to have you kind of say that same point is a big deal. Like it can happen, it does happen. Excuse me, and it totally changes the dynamic of a relationship when that is the case.
I appreciate that. But a lesson I did learn is it has to be both ways. Because if not, that's it's almost part of a definition of toxic. If I'm communicating and it's not, I'm the only one communicating, that is a huge barrier that I don't know if a relationship can survive from. Unless that person can learn their lessons and adapt and then become that, that's cool. But a lot of people are stuck in their habits, and it's a hard thing to, habits are always hard to break. And if somebody is on that toxic level, but you're not, you might be losing, you might be fighting a losing battle, and it might not end up how you want to. And if you're fortunate like I was for this moment, you're able to meet somebody that understands that and reciprocates it. And when it happens, it's great.
Man. Before we go too far into the story, I want to kind of go back, right? We went from, I was on here before. I wasn't about relationships, but I didn't close the door. And now it's like I had this relationship and this beautiful thing. 90% of it was great, but we missed the what the heck happened that you were like, how was your mindset to be open to this new relationship, right? Because basically you were like, there's just a crack that I'll ever go into a relationship. So what about your mind or what about the situation was like, oh, I'll be open to this and I'm gonna actually go all in.
Well, a crack is still a crack. It wasn't completely shut, so there has to be a willingness. And I was serious when I said it. Like I won't deny myself the possibility of happiness. Even if that crack is just minuscule, it's still open. So I've always kept that mentality. And sure, like, pardon me, gentlemen. So I do understand that the majority of me was anti that. But even if it was just a small percentage willing to open up, there was still the percentage. And as long as we keep that percentage open, there's a possibility. The person that I was talking with, it wasn't a jump right into things. It was through their job and me visiting the job. We had a chance to talk many times. That talk became, okay, I'll talk to you on Facebook. That Facebook became, can I have your number? That number became more conversations. Those conversations led on to other conversations. Those conversations were about life and goals and things like that. By the time I was opened up to the possibility of, I think I'll give this a try, a lot of time had passed for me to warm up to the person, for me to let some guard down, for me to become comfortable with saying, okay, I'm willing to try this step because I've come to know this person over a course of time in conversations that were meaningful conversations that I got to know this person on a different level and they got to know me. So by the time anything progressed as far as a relationship goes, there was a foundation there. And I've learned that that's gigantic to have a foundation in order to grow there.
Good deal. Brian, you got something?
Um, yeah, I mean, just the importance of the foundation is really good. I was explaining to Paul how my anniversary was in the middle, well, Tuesday of this week, and one of the gifts.
Congrats.
Thank you. 8 years strong,
Nice.
married. Um, one of the gifts that I got for my wife was this book titled 30 Things I Love About You. And the way that I decided to gift it to her is over the course of 30 days is I will answer one of those questions about what it is that I specifically love about her. And I kind of selfishly did it that way because while I think it is very intentional and, you know, provides a lot of insight to how I think about my wife for her, it allows me to reflect on our life together, right? Um, we've been together now 14 years
Nice.
in total, right? And a lot can happen in that amount of time, right? Good, bad, peaks, valleys, um, and plateaus, right? Which, by the way, good and bad could be found in all of those areas. Um, but in just the so far 4 days that I've answered the questions in this book, and I'm consciously writing to her, I find myself really diving deep into our past. I find that in, let's say, moments of contention, it's very easy to forget all the good at that time. and only pick out this one little thing that is wrong at this moment. And then we want to stick on it, right? But if we zoom out, we see that all of the good from the past and current heavily outweighs this one little thing that is sticking out to us at this moment. And while I understand that this one little thing that I'm talking about could be technically a big issue, it's still outweighed by all the good that has happened in the past, right? And so what I fully expect to happen is there's going to come a day in the 30-day period where I'm filling out this book for her that we'll have an argument or a disagreement, something of the like, right? And my commitment is to still, through this book, tell her what I love about her, and then leave it on a pillow, right? And I think that exercise of reflection over 14 years of experience with her before we had kids, during kids, right? During our sessions where we try to dream together and think about what we want for the future. Um, Something I'll need to share with Paul here in the upcoming weeks, that our therapist, exercise our therapist made us go through. This exercise over these 30 days is going to be, I think, just beautiful for our relationship. But again, how I led this is mostly selfish because I think it's something that I needed to do for me.
I want to say that that is so beautiful on a whole bunch of levels, but I think I think a lot of couples, relationships or marriage, I think that over time there's a comfortability that comes with it, and and an excuse not to continue to grow. And I do think that when you stop growing as a couple, like that's when the split happens, and the divide happens, and to be able to continuously grow and reflect, because I think that there's a huge difference between dwelling and reflecting. To be able to reflect and use those reflections for the present and the future, I think that it's a beautiful thing to continue to build and grow, and that's one of the key signs. And again, who am I to say this? But I think that's one of the keys to continuing a beautiful relationship. You don't get stagnant. You don't get caught in. You just continue to grow. And I think we all learn and grow until we're not on this earth anymore. And people tend to not do that in relationships. After a while, we get comfortable, and to be able to see you do that, I mean, salute, man. Congratulations on the anniversary, and God bless you in your relationship, man.
Uh,
Yeah, man, that's that's all good stuff. I mean, thinking about things that you learned, um, or that you're walking out, Bryan, and reflecting. Um, Paul, I want to ask you, like, what are, as we're talking about Bryan thinking about things of his wife on a daily basis, what are, let's say, three things that were qualities in your partner that had you kind of restore, like, okay, I can be in love, or I actually do love this person? Like, what are three qualities in her that you saw that kind of let you be open and vulnerable in that space?
Well, one, as I previously stated, was communication, the ability to just listen to what I had to say, and know that that person, know that she was going to have the floor when it was her time to talk, and to just hold off. I'll let you speak, and now, okay, now it's my turn. Communication is, in any relationship, no matter what it is gigantic, and she was able to do that. That was that's a great quality to have. And she did, and it restored it for me because, excuse me, because that was lacking in every relationship I've seen and any type of relationship I've experienced. So to be able to do that is a quality that brought me back to like, okay, like this is good, this is new, but this is comfortable. It just felt great and it felt like how it should feel. So the communication part was key. Her her level of love, it was with her, it was conditional because again, it was new, she was younger. So I realized when I go all in, I go all in. So my love was more or less more unconditional because that's just how I love. Maybe that's something I need to work on, but her level of love, there was no malice in it. It was pure. I guess that would be another quality. Like her level of love was righteous. There was no hidden agendas behind it. It was I care, and I'm going to show you I care. I'm used to having some manipulation, some gaslighting, other things camouflaged under love. And I didn't sense that from her. And that was another quality. And honestly, another quality was like, she was a girl. She was younger. She was a girl. She wasn't super stuck in her ways. Like she just enjoyed life. And I think that's a huge quality too. Like she had issues and I helped her out with it. And we all have issues. But she found joy in things, in just everyday life. And I also think that that's a huge quality because it helped lightens up her mood and help lightens up. Because there's times I'm not on the right side of the bed. I wake up on the wrong side of the bed. And to see somebody that does enjoy life and just sees things and just will always smile about it. Wasn't always like that. And near the end, it was definitely not always like that. But when that quality was there, it was great for both of us. So, communication, how she loved, and the fact that she just saw life in a way that wasn't like rigid or negative.
Okay.
I'm a simple man. I don't ask for much.
No, I like that, man. That's a lot of good qualities to leave behind. And I know we're about to get into the part of the story where, things start to break down.
Yes.
Um, and I think what's going on in my mind right now is, man, with so much good in a relationship, I wonder if they were just on different paths and that became the realization, right? Um, and I don't know that two people can always fight through that if you're on two different paths. So I'm curious to hear where it started to break down. I'm also wanting to ask, and maybe we'll kind of surmise with this question, but I wonder if you see a path back to her as well. But yeah, man, let us know what where did it start to turn, and um what how I guess I want to know, like, was it you described it as like falling off a cliff, right? So was it like a bad breakup, or was it, hey, here's the realization and I feel it's best to separate?
So I can tell you exactly when it Wile E. Coyote right off.
All right.
So she's very family orientated. She is one of 9 kids.
Wow.
She holds her father on an almost godlike tier. And when I say almost, I mean on a godlike tier. And I pretty much mean that almost literally. she holds her father as almost godlike. Now, outside looking in, I saw things that would let me know that dad's being kind of manipulative and kind of his own agenda guiding her places. Her having that mentality of not my dad or just following him blindly. I didn't want to say anything because it was going to be pointless. You have to know that before we had that conversation. Somewhere along those lines, she found out. And I helped her out. I got her a job at my place, at my job. Like, I helped her out a lot. So we were on lunch break, and this was the exact point it started to fall. We're sitting in my car having lunch, and she's like, I want to ask you a question. And I look over, and she's already almost tearing up. And she said, does my father manipulate me? And before she had a chance to put a period on it, I was like, hell yeah, like, absolutely. I was just waiting for you to I was waiting for you to acknowledge it, because if I would have said something, you would have looked at me spitefully. I'm like, because that's your dad. But however you're figuring this out, yes, unfortunately, he does manipulate you. The next day, and I would give her life advice. And I would always give her advice based off her, like, you need to do this. It has nothing to do with me or us. This is what's best for you. I always had her best interest in heart. And I always wanted to see her win. So my advice would always be under that umbrella. So the next day, we're having lunch again. And she's saying something, and I gave her the same advice, same tone, same, this is more about you, your best interest. And immediately she just said, see, this is the problem. All men think, bah, 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 bah. From that day of her realizing her father manipulated her to the end, my advice, which was heeded, and when it was heeded, she benefited from it. The same advice I would give her was met with almost spite. And she would almost start every sentence was, this is the problem with men. They think that they could control. Da, 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 da. And I'm just like, I'm giving you the same loving advice. Like, nothing has changed on my end. It started to fall off right then and there. And at that point, I said, oh boy, this is not looking good right now. Like, this is potentially a huge problem. And it was. And I'll let you talk about that while I gather up the rest of why it started to fall off. If you have any questions regarding that, please shoot.
That is really the unfortunate part is she had to in real time work through the image of the person that she held up the highest shattering, and then also without really having a place to put that energy, the next person in line that would give her advice or solid direction, which was her dad, but which she's now questioning everything that he's ever said. Now it's to you with someone who she's deeply connected with, but now is like questioning, is he doing the same thing? Right? So it's like, it was the setup. Really, there was no, like, a perfect world, she would have had that realization, had some time, and then you could have started a relationship, and it probably would be going because she'd know where she felt. But she's trying to figure out all these feelings and trust, not trust, do I believe, do I not believe, going through the grief of losing what she thought what she had with her family and who her dad was. And then I'm right here with this person who, like, I trust, but now I don't know, because is this going to happen? So that's a wild. I mean, now I totally understand why you say it fell off a cliff, because she had no capacity. She didn't even know how to deal with that loss, and then deal with someone else that is going to just naturally, as a partner, you give direction, you give advice for the betterment, but she's now questioning everything. Everything in life is being questioned. You had to go along for the ride. So that's tough.
And by go along for the ride, that was more like strap me onto the hood, Mad Max style, and just go a buck 50 and just hitting everything along. I knew it was in trouble because previously, like I said, she accepted everything. She accepted it well. It was to her benefit. She grew from it. There wasn't, I didn't, when I say before, like I realized I'm a good dude, it's because I'm here for you as a man. So if she would have a bad day, okay, hey, listen, I started to draw you a bath. Like, let's just chill out, do that, and come out. You know, give you a massage just to kind of ease you into nighttime. Like, she was going through nothing crazy, but a medical issue, and I was like, look, man, like, and she's spiritual and now becoming more religious, and I was just like, okay, like, we got this. You know, I wrote up a prayer, and every night I'd be like, I'd recite the prayer before she went to sleep. Like, you're good, your cells are healing, and all this stuff. God got you, and it became a ritual of that because I just wanted her in her best, at her best. And then when everything fell off a cliff, uh, I still tried, but it was just almost a point of no return. There was communication started to break down from that moment because everything I said that was accepted. That's why I said communication was like 90% there. Everything once that realization to her came, everything started to crumble, and it reflected. And also, she fought tooth and nail to talk her way out of happiness, if that makes sense. Because the age gap was there, but at its peak, it was I don't care. Like, we talked about a future together. Like, we went deep into it, dude. And she would just find reasons and just really talk her way out of it. And then she would ease back in, and then she would talk her way out of it. And then you could see her like going back to happiness and then talk her way out of it. So it was just a combination of those two main factors that made it more difficult than the relationship could bear.
I have to imagine that there was some turbulence created there, right? Like she has that realization that her dad's manipulative and then likely confronts him about it. And then what's his play? It's like, well, you got this dude. Did he tell you this? Right. And so
I,
now there's a bit of a struggle there. Was there anything like that going on, do you think?
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think she confronted him about it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't. It was nothing I made up in my head. I saw it, and then I became real cool with a family member of hers, and we would have talks. And when I said that, she was like, "Oh, she finally realized it," because the family member understood. But again, when you have somebody so deep in their beliefs, it's hard to tell them something different because they're so no, it's not that. Like, these are my beliefs. You can't tell me different. That when the realization comes out, it's shattered. And like Paul said, it's the breakdown to that. If I'd have met her after that realization and her growth on it, it probably would have been different. But if not, it wasn't the case. So, but I don't think, and I'm quite sure she didn't confront him about that.
Interesting. And that's wild that another family member was aware of it. Then it sounds like apparently also didn't try to step in to change the situation and change that dynamic.
No, she was more of an independent thinker. So she recognized it, but she got out of it. she just was like, nah, this ain't for me. Like, I love you. And the love is there. Like, family, 9 kids, the family. I met the father, I met the mother. It's a loving family. There is no denying that. But sometimes tactics are their tactics, their agenda, whatever that is. And the family member understood that and was just like, and noped out of there. It was like, nope, I can't help anybody that doesn't want to be helped, but I can help myself. And they went that route. And you can kind of see that person is more independent. Like, that person's in a loving relationship, and that's, you can see where they said, no, I'm out. Like, I'm not doing this. I see what you're trying to do, and I'm not going to be a part of it.
Is there any chance that she's the youngest of the siblings?
No, but very close to being it. She's not the youngest, but she's like second or third down that rung.
Interesting. So we're getting close to needing to wrap up here, but
Understood.
the other question that I had posed to you, do you see any path to you returning to each other?
In my mind, in my perfect scenario of, lack of a better word, happily ever after, I would like to think that, because at this point we're at no communication level. Like, she's just like, I can't right now. We had great times, and you know, as great as it was more confusing for her. And in that confusion, I would like to think that she learns, she continues to grow. And I've heard her past relationship experiences, and I was that dude. Like, she would tell me that, and she told me, she was like, you're the greatest love I've ever had. Like, this is how it should be, and thank you for giving it to me. I understand what love is. Consequently, same deal with me. Like, we were in that aspect, we both got to see what it was really about. In my perfect scenario, she understands where she could have done better. I understand it goes both ways. I understand where I could have done better. She realizes that, wow, I had a real one. Like, I had a real love. And we're able to communicate again. And off of that, hey, I understand. I hope she understands. And I don't dismiss love like that, because it was genuine from me. So, there's people that's like, nah, forget her. Like, screw that and screw this and move on, and, bleep her, bleep this. I had real love, so I'm not willing to do that because it was real. But I also understand the circumstances of why it's not where it is now. So my hope is that she would come to those realizations and say, let me get back to real love. Because when it was on, it was on. And when she's accepted it, it was a beautiful thing for both of us. So I would like to see her come back after growth and understanding. And then we could take it from there. Whether that means that, there is that future there, I don't know. But I would like to see another shot at it with us a little bit more mature and having dealt with our experiences.
Great answer. Real quick, you don't have to give the exact timeline, but how long ago did this? Was this like 6 months? Was this a year? Like, is it still semi recent?
Semi-recent, very, very semi-recent.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I just want to say, um, I sit with you in your grief of that loss of that, because sometimes we don't allow ourselves, or we don't have a group that will just sit with us. Because as you're saying it, right, so a lot of people do say, yeah, forget that, blah blah blah, it wasn't as good as it was. No, let's be real, it was great. It was one of your greatest relationship experiences ever. um, and you learned a lot about yourself, and really low key put your faith back in relationships and people. um, and with that, life challenges came up, something you totally couldn't control, and it kind of went the other way. So I just want to say, man, like, that loss is real, and I appreciate you sharing even this with us, what you've learned, what you went through. And it's not it's not the favorite. And I think, as you're saying, like, you're looking for uh ways to be positive and to bring it out. But it's okay to just sit and reflect and be like, man, that's tough. So I appreciate you giving us a space to just sit in there with you.
I appreciate that. It's definitely hasn't been that long. That's still an open wound, and I was kind of cautious coming into this. I know I'm in a safe space with you guys because you guys are awesome. I appreciate you guys. I didn't know where it was gonna go, and I still think about it. It's still an open wound, and we're working through it. Trust me, I'm way better now than I was before. I was a wreck before because it was real and it was gone, and something so great that can you know, come to light, and then all of a sudden that light gets dimmed. It sucks, man, and it's just something that you have to deal with. But I'm dealing, so
Yeah. Man, I'm sitting over here thinking how proud I am of you to make
thank you,
that
man.
huge of a change from last time we spoke about relationships and what your mindset on them was. Um, and I'm encouraged for you as well, right? Going forward, whether you're able to revisit this relationship or just take what you've learned here and apply it in the future, right? Um, so I'm just happy that you were able to open up to this experience, and happy that going forward you know that love and the opposite of those things that you witnessed is possible, right? And will allow you. I guess the best way to say it for me is will allow you to open your heart, even knowing that the chance of destruction is still there, right? Like, I don't really know how else to say it. Like, you have to be willing to be destroyed to experience love fully.
I agree with that. It's still a healing thing, so I don't know where it's gonna lead that, but I'm healing, and we'll see where it goes in the future.
Man, I just want to commend you. Like, that's really wild, having this conversation and seeing it grow. I mean, literally, it's not that you're a different person, but you are a different person, if that makes sense. Like, even your kind of the vibe, the confidence, your countenance on how you even talking about relationships is totally different. Um, Now you're still a good, positive, straightforward, I'm gonna tell it like it is, dude, right? But it's like there's just a different lightness to you. Um, so I think that's amazing. I mean, my hope is that you continue on that path, right? The crack might be, now it's like it's like an open hand, right? Not just a crack, but an open hand. And I will say, I would say it probably kind of snuck up on you, even how this started, right? So not looking for it is the best way, and it's the best way for me. There's no other way, better way than just like building a relationship with someone before you dive in, and like you walk that journey of like, it's just regular conversation. Now I'm gonna look you up, right? You walked us through how that ended up there. It wasn't just like, oh, I see this person, I don't know nothing about them, I'm now in a relationship, they're now living with me, right? Like, that's crazy. But you had history, and I think that kind of sets you up for success. And like I said, like, as you excuse me, as you've laid this out, like, we now understand the 90 and the 10, right? and why the 90 was so great. And also, unfortunately, how the 10 was. And that was like, I think the comforting thing is you can say that it really was out of your control. Like there was a realization that happened, and there's nothing you can do about it. That was going to happen sometime in her life. You just happen to be kind of a casualty of that. And if she's not open to therapy, coaching, or anything like that, because that's a heavy thing to go through when you're going through manipulation at all, family trauma, family realization, the veils come off the eyes. That's like, oh, who can I go to? And if you're not with a professional or someone that has experience with walking people through that or walking through that themselves, you really are leaving bodies all over the place. So I would dare to say that you're not the only relationship that is a casualty of this happening, right? I'm sure her friendships, her work stuff, like I'm sure it's everywhere because her life is literally shattered. And when there's shattering all over, people are getting cut with glass. So unfortunately, that's what you had, and that's the unfortunate but the positive. Like the way you articulated how you took this relationship on is fantastic. So I just encourage you to keep that going, and prayerfully, if that's your heart desire, the Lord will bring you someone else, or bring it back if it's supposed to be back, whatever. But another shot, the Lord will give you another shot. I'll say, it doesn't matter who it is, but He'll give you another shot of, to experience that true genuine love from someone else. So that's my piece.
I appreciate the words, man. Thank you.
I don't think I have anything else in closing, man. Well, you know what? I'll let you end the show before Paul closes it out with what's the top thing you're going to carry with you going forward that will allow you to remain open to a new relationship.
The memories, the feelings, this thing that I experienced that was at its best, the best thing I ever had, and knowing that that's there, and there's no, even though it didn't end right, it didn't end with hate. I still truly love this person with all my heart, and I wish him nothing but the best, that they get everything that life has to offer them. And it's because of what that person gave me. And those experiences and memories, if it doesn't work out, I'll have those. And I still have that love that was there as a reminder that it's possible and it's there.
Man, that's no better way to wrap it up. We appreciate your time and your your time and your story, Paul. Like I said, anyone, if you got anything from this episode, send us a comment. Look up Marriage is Tougher on any social media platform. Hit us up directly at marriagestougher.com. Hit the contact form. And we can get that. We can relay the impact that this has had right to Paul and allow him to see that. If you'd like to be a guest and share your story or have anything else that you'd like to talk about, please go to marriagestougher.com, hit the contact form, leave your information, and we'll reach out and get you on the show. We appreciate the time that you took. And I hope you got something I know you got something from this whole episode. Thanks for sticking all the way through it. And until next time, we'll chat later.
Peace.
Later.